And just for the record, for the minutes, Trustee Benetti is participating tonight. He's traveling due to work, so is subject to an OMA exemption and ability to participate remotely.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. Okay, public comment?
Paul Mayer?
Am I alone again tonight? Huh?
You are.
I'm all alone, huh? That's scary in a way. Okay, what I wanted to do this evening was to clarify some things I said last night, okay? And I would like to, first of all, thank Janet Burson. We had a conversation afterwards, and she helped me to realize that I may have misrepresented some of the things that I said. So I want to clarify it. I am not against TIFs, okay? I'm not against TIFs. TIFs are tools that are used for besieged areas, okay, blighted areas, usually in cities or places where things have to be redeveloped. Not developed, but redeveloped and brought back into usefulness, okay, for the community. And I think that's a good tool for that kind of an assignment. What I was talking about last night was using TIFs for development and taking the rules and the laws that we have and kind of maybe massaging them or twisting them to take our tax money and use it for something that it's not intended for. I have with me tonight, this comes from the Illinois State Bar Association. And here are all of the blighting factors for TIF qualification. And it's interesting because they break down into factors for blighted areas, but also factors for farmland and conservation areas. Oh. And I went through this. And I didn't find anything in here that qualifies La Fox for using the TIF that we're talking about. So thank you for helping me to see that I needed to clarify that. The second thing I wanted to mention this evening was that. I'm sorry. I wanted to introduce that differently. I wanted to thank Barbara and I wanted to thank Carmen. Because after the meeting last night, we had a quick talk, and you clarified some things for me in terms of the fact that the whole TIF project is being let out to a consultant, and that consultant is going to come back and tell us whether this property qualifies or not, okay? And Carmen, I believe you said that could take anywhere up to 6 months. And that said to me that the decision by you to make this a TIF district has not yet been made. And I think I'm correct. I don't want to assume anything, but I think that's correct. But here's what confused me last night. As I was listening to the various talks that were, you were discussing a whole lot of things back and forth, I heard at least 2 or 3 of you refer to TIFs in a tone that said to me, this is already a done deal. Now, Carmen, you said that's not a done deal, but the tone was such that this was a done deal already. Somebody said, well, we're going to use the TIFs for that, or we can use the TIFs for that. But evidently, it's not. And the last one that I heard that put a little concern in me was when the representative here, I'm sorry, I don't know his name.
David Patzel.
David, okay, thank you. He made a kind of an under the breath statement about, you were talking about something, he says, without the TIF, we can't do it. That didn't sound good to me. That was almost like, I get my TIF or I don't do it. I don't know if that's his attitude or not. So I just want to say that be wise in selecting whether or not you want to use TIF. I don't know if they were sincere or not, or if they knew exactly what they were saying about that this is already a done deal. I don't know who would have done a sales job on you about that. This is a done deal, and we'll go ahead and we'll plan for it. Please don't count your chickens before they've hatched, okay? And I think Carmen mentioned this could take up to 6 months before this consulting company comes back, okay? I trust in your judgment. I'm a PC for Campton 10. I campaign for some of you, okay? For some of you I campaign, and I trust your judgment. So that's all I've got to say tonight. Thank you very much, and have a good meeting.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, we're going to take a few minutes to open up the floor to our PAC 150. If they have any questions, feel free to question any of the trustees, the president, or our chief of police, Chief Levand. So, go ahead.
So, we had a question.
Yeah.
So, how were you guys voted in? Was it a majority vote or was it a popularity vote?
Hold on, I don't think the mic's on. It's on? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
How were you guys voted in? Was it a majority vote or was it a popularity vote?
No, it's a majority vote.
A majority vote? Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes? Go.
here, come up here.
There you go.
So like, what do you like do here? It's kind of like,
Who wants to take this one? Mike, you've got the long standing.
Longest serving.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm here because after I got my citizen badge, I got citizenship in the community, and I got my Eagle, and I'm still an Eagle, and
Yay.
we're supposed to serve as part of our oath, and so this is my way of serving my community.
Yeah.
how did you guys get here? Wait, what?
They were voted in.
And how do you vote? What if there's like 2 people missing? Yeah.
What do you do if one of the trustees is absent?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Well, we have to have, what's the majority of the vote?
So you have to have, I can answer this question. I
Yeah.
charge by the word, so. So, and by the minute. Yes. Yeah, I know some of these guys. The board has 7 members, including the village president, so 6 trustees and the village president, and also the village clerk is considered part of the village board. On most boards, at least the 6 trustees vote on things, whatever's before them. In some boards, the village president or mayor also votes. On this particular board, because of the way that this village is set up, the village president only votes to break a tie or in some other limited circumstances. So to have a meeting, you have to have what's called a quorum. If you have a 7-member board, like you have here, you have to have at least 4 people to hold a meeting. So now you have everyone here, technically one is appearing by phone, so you really do have all 7 here for purposes of talking about and discussing things, but you have 6 here in the room.
Okay.
Good question.
Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.
How do you handle the questions that people ask?
Generally, we don't debate people that have a question. The elected officials defer to the staff, be the chief or myself, to get an answer and respond at a regular work hours to their questions and stuff. Because we don't go into back and forth debate. It's not like New Hampshire or back in the New England area where you have a town meeting and everybody gets up and debates. That's not the form we have in Illinois.
Okay.
So I kind of dodged your questions.
Let me just add a little something to that. People do email us and ask us questions, and of course, we reply, give them the answers. People even do stop into our village building to ask questions, so, we spend a little time with them answering those questions.
And then what is your, I guess, level of jurisdiction? How high up in the chain of government are you guys, and
That's a
what
good
do
question.
what is your area that you're controlling over?
Federalism, where the local.
Sure, I can
Yeah.
answer that one. So this board governs issues and governs the areas that are within the village of Campton Hills. So that's, just the local town that you have here. The next level of government above this, somewhat beside, but also kind of above, is the township, Campton Township, which all of Campton Hills, almost all of Campton Hills is in Campton Township. There's a tiny little bit in Plato Township. And higher than that is the county, so that's Kane County Board. And then you go to the state and to the federal government. The different levels of government have different responsibilities. Some levels of government share similar responsibilities, like your roads. In this area, a lot of different entities take care of the roads. The state, the local village contracts with the township to take care of their roads. And then you also have the county. But in Campton Hills, for instance, you have your own police department. So they help keep people safe in town and help our neighbors. There's no fire department by the village. We have a fire district. That fire district serves a lot of different towns in the area and some of the unincorporated areas as well. So, but these, we have five in the village, right? Yeah, different parts of the village happen to be covered by different fire protection districts, because at the time the village was formed, which was only 18 years ago, all of those fire districts had already been created, some many, many, many years ago. So,
It's all Thomas Jefferson's fault. You can look it up.
Go ahead, Teresa.
So Barbara Monicki is the president of this village, so she is the head of the village. And then there's 6 of us that are trustees, and if some of you young gentlemen have heard of either senators or House of Representatives, that's kind of what we do. We're on like the legislative kind of area. Ms. Monicki is the executive branch, and then we would be like the legislative branch. So we have certain tasks, and she has certain tasks, and then our clerk has other tasks, and then we have an administrator, and right here, and then we have our village attorney, our chief of police, and so we have other people in the village, our engineer. Anyone else here? Yeah. So that might help out a little bit too. So when it comes to things that are in the village, we do make those decisions, like when it comes to roads, zoning issues, taxes, if someone is coming in with a new business and they need a license, or they want to come into the village. We've got zoning laws that we've got to look at, permitting. There's a host of things that we take care of, and I'm sure someone can add to that list.
Go ahead, Janet.
I feel like the simplest way to ask the question or answer the question that was asked initially about what do we do, right? We make the rules within the village. And so there was other questions about where is the hierarchy above and below us, and everything was a little more complicated. But basically, we make the rules in the village. So you guys go to school, and there's rules in the school. There's rules in other places. So there's rules in the village, and we make most of the rules that people need to follow in the village. There's a lot of different categories, but that's a simple way.
Kim, Kim?
Yeah,
Go
Frank.
ahead.
We can let Frank in on this, because he's got a good rule that he could explain
Yeah,
to this audience. Go ahead, Frank.
all right.
Well, we recently passed an ordinance, a law, a rule, call it, on e-bikes. We were receiving a number of complaints from residents that some kids were not riding their e-bikes responsibly. So we created a set of rules that say if you want to ride an e-bike
That's better.
or an e-scooter within the village boundaries, you need to follow certain rules. You need to be a certain age. You can only ride them in certain places. Obviously, you need to try to be safe and you need to be respectful to other people. So we created a rule that basically says if you want to operate these types of bikes or scooters within the village, you have to follow these rules. And Trustee Burson, she was explaining it. You have rules in schools. These are rules for the people that live in the village.
Good. Okay, we'll move to Kim.
Okay, so Trustee Hassenberger talked about taxes, so I just want to say, remind your parents and everybody else, the Village of Campton Hills does not levy a property tax, okay? So we operate with shared funds.
That is important.
So if you want further questions, have further questions on that, I'll be happy to answer it.
All right, any questions for our chief of police? Oh, so they already know. They've got all the answers.
Well, finally, on behalf of PAC 150, we're at Owasco Elementary, so right next door here. Thank you for letting us join you tonight. So I
Thank you,
appreciate
it's
it.
been a joy. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
All right, are you going to handle the public hearing on Brown? Okay. Okay, moving on. Number 4, we're going to do a public hearing on the Brown Road annexation.
Can we have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second by Kim.
Yeah, I'll second.
You can take all in favor.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I don't know that we have the applicant here, but is there anyone here speaking on behalf of tonight's hearing from Brown
think
Road?
so.
I don't believe so.
No.
And this is regarding 5 North 428, the property between 5 North 428 and 5 North 476 Brown Road. Is there any individual who would like to make public comment regarding the annexation agreement for Brown Road for that property? Okay. Seeing no public comment, I can give a brief overview of what
Good, yeah.
this project entails. You'll have in your packet a series of ordinances and some information from the Planning and Zoning Commission. This property is on the northwest side of Brown Road. It's a residential property. When I say property, I'm talking about the two parcels as a whole. 5 North 428 is a residential home. I think both parcels are about 4.5 acres in total, I think. Yeah, 4.5, are each for a total of around 9 acres, split evenly. The residence is, an unincorporated parcel. The adjacent parcel to it's kind of the northeast of it, kind of almost east, it's essentially a vacant parcel. There's an older dilapidated structure on it, or there was at one point. The owner, singular owner, is looking to build an outbuilding, a pole barn essentially. And because of the way that the property is situated, I think we did talk a bit about this maybe at the prior meeting. It has to be in the front yard due to grading issues or topography and drainage. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved a recommendation to approve that variation conditioned on the residential parcel being annexed into the village. So at this point, we had a draft annexation agreement that was prepared by myself and the owner's attorney that he's committed to. We've given him a petition for annexation to execute, which we have not received, I don't believe. But most importantly, we don't have a formalized plat of annexation for the property. We have a plat of survey, but the plat of annexation has a little bit more information on it. Talks about how the boundaries of the village will extend to the far side of the adjacent road, which is Brown Road. So it would come from the property line at the front all the way across down to the southeast. Once we have that, then you can take action on the ordinances in the order that you have them on the agenda. So approving the annexation agreement, which spells out the next step, which would be to annex the property into the village, and then the step after that to approve the variation. Because you can't approve the variation unless the property's in the village, formally in the village. So at this point, if anyone has any questions about these three ordinances, we put them on the agenda because we anticipated we'd have all the information for today. I can answer them.
A quick question. Are we going to require that the two properties become one? Are they going to be tied together?
We hadn't discussed that at the Planning and Zoning Commission level. I don't know if the resident would have an issue with that because they're being used for a common, they are going to be used for a common purpose.
Right.
Obviously the concern is that, one of them would be sold off, which would
Right.
be the one with the accessory structure. And then there's no primary structure on it. Now with two adjacent lots or two adjacent parcels, you can obtain a variation on the adjacent parcel, even though there's not a residential structure on it, if they're under common ownership and they're next to each other. So the owner has the authority to ask for this variation without having them consolidated.
I guess the reason I ask is that I think it came up that they may have at one point thought about selling off one of the properties, and I think it would just make it clear that they can't do that after we offer this variance, so that there isn't the possibility of selling that lot with that outbuilding by itself.
Sure, I mean, that's something that I can speak to their attorney about, or his attorney about, to see if that's a condition that they would accept on the annexation agreement, and then, on the subsequent variation. It would require separate board action to approve the consolidation. That wouldn't have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's something that the board can do.
Okay.
But, it is something that can happen at the same time as this.
Just might not be a bad idea at this
Sure.
point, just since
Right.
we're doing it all at once. It might just
Yeah.
be a good security measure.
Right. I can't answer from their perspective is if they've looked into it and if that would have any residual effect on their, on the assessed valuation of the property as a
Okay.
whole. I don't know. And that, that would be up to the
Yeah.
property owner and the assessor.
And when I was reading the comments, it looked like I don't think they'd have an issue with it. But sure, we can see what they say now about
Sure.
that.
Yep.
But just maybe pursue that if
Yeah,
we can.
just a thought on that. It remains two different PIN numbers, even though, even though they're both annexing, the house is annexing into the village.
The way that it's
So-
proposed now, yes. Yeah, if it was consolidated, it would be issued a new PIN, right?
So then, if it's a separate PIN and they did it down the line wanted to sell the lot, they probably could do it because it is a different PIN, correct?
As it currently
Yeah.
stands now, they could.
Okay.
Right, so if we had them combine it, they would combine it into one pin and then,
I don't-
that's my
yeah.
guess, correct?
If they could. Mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
All right, any other comments or questions? Yeah, Janet?
Well, since we still have our troop here, I wanted to ask whether you guys have any idea what we're talking about at all.
Absolutely not.
Neither do we, no.
Sure. Sure. So basically what's going on here is that these people own two different lots and they're like right next to each other. And one of them, because we're on the edge of the country and weird things happen here, one of them is in the village and one of them is not in the village. And they want to kind of do stuff together on them. And so in order to do what they want to do on one of them, we're asking them to make them both in the village because one of them is outside the village, even though if you're driving down the street, it looks like it's in the village, but technically it's not.
Good answer.
It's the town you live in.
No.
Well, if you live in Campton Hills, then you live in the village of Campton Hills, but it's possible you might live in St. Charles. Where do you live?
It's okay though, because a lot of us have
You have
We
addresses
have
that say
addresses that
St.
say
Charles.
St. Charles and Campton Hills, so believe me, you're not the only one that asked that
Yeah.
question.
And you can use
Many
both.
adults in this community do the same thing.
It's,
What's a village?
So it is what is called a unit of local government. It is called a municipality. So it is typically your most local unit of government that you have here, your village board, and they make, as we said before, they make the rules in the village. So the village, if you look at a map, it has boundaries. So some are squares, some are kind of look like spaghetti, like Campton Hills does. Some go along their borders end up on rivers or lakes. And you don't see a wall when you're driving down the road where one village ends and the next one starts. A lot of times you never even know you're in one village or the other. Sometimes you'll see a sign, like the Welcome to Campton Hills sign, or you're now leaving St. Charles, or whatever it might be. And when you go into a different village, or a town, or a city, all kind of interchangeable, you have a different set of rules sometimes, and you have a different village board, or a city council, or a town board. So, yeah.
So now, if we have no other questions, we probably could take a motion to close the hearing and not vote on the ordinances till we
Okay.
get the material from the applicant.
Yeah. Motion to close the public hearing, made by Kim.
So move.
Second,
second.
second by Janet. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any more board discussion on Brown Road?
And Frank said aye, too.
Okay.
And based on tonight's comments from the board, I will speak to the applicant's attorney. We can discuss making some of those minor changes with this and with any annexation hearing. When we handled the Shodine project, that we discussed this as well. Changes can be made to the annexation ordinance, or the annexation agreement and the annexation ordinance after the public hearing. So that's the next step at this point.
Can the
Mike, go ahead.
plat of annexation and the plat of consolidation be one?
We probably, it would probably have to happen after, because the public notice and in the petition lists the two pins and it has them legally described.
Okay.
Separately, there will be a whole new legal description for consolidation, so, yeah.
All right, we'll move on to 5, consent agenda. Anything to remove on the consent agenda? Any items? So hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Moved by Kim.
Second.
Second by Mike. Roll call.
Trustee Muir,
Aye.
Trustee Millet,
Aye.
Trustee Benetti,
Aye.
Trustee Boatner,
Aye.
Trustee Burson,
Aye.
Trustee Hefzenberger.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Any discussion on any items? Yeah,
No, it's in
Trees?
consent.
Just can I confirm that the checks are going to be signed this evening?
After the meeting?
After the meeting?
Yes.
Okay,
You just approved the warrant, I'll start signing them now.
perfect, okay.
There you go.
All right, just checking, thank you.
All righty. All right, we'll move on to 6, staff reports, and we'll start out with the police report. James Levan, our chief.
Thank you. Activity for the month of October, 452 calls for service, 13 accidents, 131 citations, and 5 arrests. This past Saturday, we did have a residential burglary that occurred on the far northwest end of the village. Homeowners are newer to the area. They left the residence for a couple hours, came back, found a rear window open and a bedroom that had been gone through, including some missing jewelry. Both Detective Oberth and Detective Roskins are working on it, so we're still trying to figure out some things on it, but that has fielded some questions from residents about it, so we'll let you know any updates on it. There was a couple weeks ago, and I took a lot of calls and messages for this, there was law enforcement activity in the village that caused some concern for residents and businesses alike, including Old Town next door. Everyone thought it was ICE doing an immigration enforcement operation. It was not ICE. So they came in and met with me when they arrived. It was actually the United States Marshal Service. The problem with it is many federal government agencies all wear the same color, all wear the same types of uniforms. People see them, they just assume automatically that it is ICE doing an immigration enforcement. It was not. They were here to serve a federal search warrant signed by the judge for threats made against the president by a resident that lived in town. They were very respectful. They carried out their search warrant. There was no issues with it. They took the subject into custody and then they left the area. But we also posted it on our Facebook as soon as it happened to let everyone know that it was not ICE and it was not an immigration operation that was going on. It was the United States Marshal Service, so that's what that was for. The next board meeting, we actually have Officers of the Month for July, August, September, and October. That'll be recognized. We've sort of fallen behind with it, with everything going on in the department being busy. I recently completed my executive management course through Northwestern University, and yes, I did pass it, so that was a plus. Deer are in full swing right now, so I'd like to remind all the residents, as I remind our officers, because we are not exempt from it. Usually it happens once a year, unfortunately, to be careful driving around, be aware of the deer, because we know they will dart out in front of you in a second. The car accidents are already increasing with vehicles versus deers. And then another reminder, with winter weather approaching, please remember the village's winter weather event parking ordinance. This is not 2 inches of snow like some other communities. It could be a ice or snow event. My biggest suggestion would be watch the news, watch the National Weather Service. If they tell you it's going to be ice or snow and you make the assumption that plows will be out doing their job, do not park on the street, because it's not fair to our officers to think that they will knock on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask you to remove your vehicle from the street when the news told you 3 hours before there was going to be 18 inches of snow. Campton Township Highway District needs the room to get through. We have small streets. If you don't move your cars off the street, every year we have it, damaged mailboxes, cars get hit, or God forbid, a child or something gets hit as these plows are going through. So just a reminder, that has also been put on the department Facebook page. The no truck signs were installed by Campton Township Highway District for Brown and Old Fox Road. Those have been up. Since they've gone up, we've enforced the area and we have not had any issues. So occasional 1 or 2 trucks, they've been given a friendly reminder in the beginning with a warning, but it seems that the signs are working, so that is a good thing. And then I just real quick wanted to thank Clerk Johnson over there because she assisted in updating our phone lines. Our phone lines, when I say this, have been the same since the village incorporated. And what made them very frustrating is residents would call the 630-584-0330. They would leave a message on our answering machine. So if officers were busy on calls, it could be an hour, 2 hours before they'd come in and they'd check the answering machine. We have updated the system. It is much improved. So now when you call it, if you have not heard it, there's a recording, and it's Tracy's great voice over there that gives you instructions. If it's an emergency, hang up and dial 911. If it's any other type of call that's not an emergency, call our dispatch center. Officers are not dispatched from this number. It became a safety issue is what it became, because someone would call and say, I saw a suspicious person or I saw crime taking place, and then they would leave a recording, and then we get an hour or 2 later and that crime is long done. So I just wanted to give thanks to her for setting it up, and it has made huge improvements on it, so thank you.
And the finance report, you all have that. If you have any questions, you can contact me, tonight, right here, or in the morning, if you have questions. We'll go back to the police chief. Go ahead, Frank.
Sorry. Hey, Chief. So, The phone number that we use for the department versus what should be used to, report things that, need to be responded to. And I guess I'll use the e-bike example. It seems like some residents in the community expect the squad cars to be on the spot when a kid is maybe riding his e-bike a little bit irresponsibly. And I've heard that, they call the police number because they consider it a non-emergency and they're just not getting a follow-up call. I was just wondering if there's any way maybe you can post on the Facebook page, what the proper process should be if they want to report something that's going on in the village. Because obviously, we don't have a big enough police force, and Campton Hills geographically is pretty large. But I thought it might be a good idea if you can post something to say why would you call the non-emergency number, in town, and then when you should use the 911 to report an incident. It just seems like there's a lot of people that are confused and on who they should be calling when. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll have Mike and Stavi, they've been doing, I'm screaming like I'm trying to reach to where he's at. So I will have Mike and Stavi come up with an updated one. We did originally post something on there when we changed the number. I know we did put it in community counts. I want to say actually it was on the village website too. It is still there. So I'll have them work on something that sort of lists and give examples and come up with something that hopefully can help them. Because we did that, Tracy did that for me too. When you call that recording, like she'll tell you on there, like if obviously 911, hang up, dial 911. But if these are calls like parking complaints, animal complaints, a bunch of different options to dial this number, which is dispatch. But yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I will have them come up with something that can sort of help explain it a little better to the residents, and then we'll get posted on our Facebook.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Okay, Mike, go
I have
ahead.
a question, if you could relay to the treasurer. This is my engineer brain, maybe again. So, page 1, at the top, the first 7 items are revenue. Well, I take that back. Line 1 is the title. So, the next 5 lines are revenue, and then the next line is summation of said revenue. Okay, right? Head of column G says % of budget spent. I do not know in my mind what the heck I'm looking at when I'm talking about revenue. So is a positive number good here? I mean, is a high percentage good here? That means we got more money in than we expected?
Yes.
Okay, then that's not budget spent. I mean, the column below where we're talking about expenditures.
Yes,
Yeah, that's budget spent. I get that. So this is revenue received, right?
Yes.
So 110% revenue received means we're up, even though, and can the budget remaining is a negative number, which is fine, because, okay, that part I get. Okay, so,
Is that amount accrued, would you feel better?
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
We
okay.
can talk about that. All right.
Thank you for being here. It's good to see all of you. Yeah,
All right.
That's a good point. Time to go, numbers.
Now you'd be on the action items.
Finance, yeah,
I think now you can go to action items.
yeah.
Yeah, finance, they took off.
All right, we'll move on to number 7, action items. A motion to approve Resolution 25-41, adopting an updated social media use policy for the Village of Campton Hills, Illinois. I'll accept a motion, and then we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Janet, second.
Second?
Second by Nick. Roll call.
Or, no, discussion.
I'm sorry, discussion, yep. Therese, go ahead.
I have a couple of thoughts on this. I think given that it's so new to the village, and I think there was different levels of comfort with this social media policy, I think some of us are more comfortable than others. And so I think what might not be a bad idea to start out is for us to kind of spend a couple of meetings, maybe approving some topics that we agree. So, you know, when we come into our meetings, we can say, okay, so for the next, between now and the next meeting, these are the topics we think would be a good thing to talk about on social media. And then, Tracy, have you agreed to do this?
Yeah, that's the big
Kind
question.
of started looking into how to do it.
Okay. So either we could submit posts on those topics, or Tracy, if you are agreeing to take it on, you could then maybe send an email out to us, give us literally 24 hours for either comments or feedback, and if no one responds within 24 hours, send them out. Give us, literally say, okay, here's the posts that are gonna go out, and you can stagger them however you want, or you can send them however you want, but that way we have at least a little bit of time for us to kind of have kind of some group input or group think on this a little bit.
Might be a little difficult just because I work full-time, but we can certainly try some sort of a plan to, if you guys want to start approving them just to start with.
Yeah, and I think, just so there's clarity, Tracy won't be as the clerk deciding what content to put out. She'll just be the one executing.
Well, I was just thinking of giving, that would be just giving us some structure.
Yes.
So that during the meetings, we could, you know, come up
No, I
with,
think that's a good idea. 'Cause
you know,
we
the
weren't
structure at the
expecting
meetings.
Tracy to come
well,
up
that way
with
she doesn't,
content.
she also doesn't have to do all that, but then,
Yeah.
and if you want help with the content on it, then we talk about that during the meeting and say, I'll submit the content for this, someone else submit the content for that.
That
But
could
then,
work,
like
yeah.
I said, if someone's gonna put a post out, if they wanna send it out in an email to all of us, literally you have 24 hours to make a comment or a feedback. And if you do not comment or do not give feedback, that person has the ability then to send it to Tracy, or Tracy has the ability, if she sent it out to us, to post it. Is kind of my thought. That way, it's like, if you missed it, you didn't read it, that's your loss, but you've given us 24 hours to either have feedback or comment, and then it goes out. But at least we all have the opportunity to either add to it, and this is just in the short term, and I think once we get rolling and get going forward, I think it'll run smoothly. But then, I think some of the people who are a little bit more reluctant and a little bit more afraid of the social media might have more comfort with this. I'm not one of those people. I don't have a lot of fear on this, but I know that there are people in the room who had a little bit more fear on it, and I think it might help alleviate some of the concerns.
And the board as a whole is okay with anything in community counts, just goes right to the Facebook page.
And I think that's right. I think that's a good point too, to say whatever is going in community counts, we can automatically send in.
Just be careful when you send your comments, that you send it to Tracy and then blind CC the other
The other
trustees,
board
so you don't
members.
create
Yeah,
Correct.
an OMA.
Yes, correct.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Janet, go ahead.
So
Frank wanted in
I'm a little confused, because I thought that the working understanding here was that we were going to be echoing community counts on the Facebook page. So I was not aware that we were contemplating doing any other discrete posts different from what would be on community counts in the short term. So for anyone in the room or otherwise who might be nervous or uncomfortable about Facebook posts, the understanding was that we were going to take the exact same text, the exact same images, the exact same post that's already going out on community counts and put it on Facebook. So
Yeah, that's good.
For us to be micromanaging Facebook posts of all the things that the board can't really be micromanaging, when I see community counts posts, I'll tell you, there's times when I think, that's not necessarily what I would have emphasized, right? That's not the thing that seems most important to me. Or, hey, there's something else I think is more important. But on the whole, I think that, we post pretty good stuff there.
I think so.
And so I'm comfortable saying that, because from the beginning, we were conscious that, it's a load for it shouldn't be the clerk that has to do this, but because the clerk is the one who is doing our web posts, and things already, the assumption was, well, the clerk would do these things, and so the mechanics of it is one time, given your full-time employment. But from the outset, we were like, well, the clerk can't be tasked with writing these posts, can't be tasked with the content, right? So the content is the content that we are otherwise looking to stand behind as a village. And we're just passing it on to you and saying, put it on the Facebook page. And later, maybe it
yeah.
could get fancier, but the simple version of it, I thought, was just that.
I think the only time it would be outside of community accounts is if we found out something last minute and it didn't make it in community accounts, then we
Sure.
could put it on the Facebook
Like a
page.
meeting announcement, cancellation, something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Julie in the office, she does community counts, and I think she does a really wonderful job, and
I like it.
she takes a lot of recommendations,
I
and-
sit with her and.
Yeah, and Michelle does too. She sits with her, and it's always about holiday time and whatever else is happening. So she does a good job.
And she
Yeah.
gives me the final say on it.
Sure, sure.
She sends it to me. yeah.
Therese, go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's room for both. And I think also, one of the things I had thought about was also sharing some of our community events. So Quran Farm, Garfield Farm, things like that we can share.
That's almost always on community counts.
Is it always on
but-
there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I don't look,
We
I don't,
kind of partner with Campton
Okay.
Township, so.
yeah,
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
If we can let,
Oh, Frank, okay.
you're on, Frank.
Yes. Yeah, so I guess my only comment is I don't mind us making suggestions on what we might want to have posted. I think that's valid, but, there have been a few things recently where I think we need to make sure we're in our lane as trustees. We're not responsible for day-to-day management of the village. That really is staff and Mark's responsibility. And, just like we don't go to Chief Levand and say, hey, Chief, here's what you can post, or here's what we think you should post on Facebook. The village really shouldn't be any different. And we should have trust and faith in staff and the administrator to make these decisions. And obviously we can make suggestions and whatnot, but as trustees, I don't think we should really get into the minutia of the day-to-day management of the village. I mean, we're responsible for overseeing it and for evaluating it and managing, from 50,000 foot level, but I really don't think it's our role as trustees to really get into the day-to-day activity. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Frank. Therese, go ahead.
Barbara had mentioned to me that this is a reflection on her at the end of the day. And so we wanted to make sure that it was continuing to be a reflection on her and to give her some sort of input on the content. That's why I brought this up, was to
Well-
make sure that it was continuing to be a reflection on her. That's the only reason I brought this up, was that at the end of the day, when someone's looking at the village social media page, they will associate it with her more than any of us. So just to be mindful of that, so I think that she's accurate in that respect, that when people look at it, they do look at it as a reflection on her. So
Oh, thank
I
you,
think that she
Therese.
has the ability to, or she should have the ability to be able to have some say in some of it. Not that anyone's micromanaging, and I think that's kind of
Yeah.
a bit of a extreme reaction to it, that when someone says they just want to have a little bit of a say in what's going on, it doesn't mean you're, micromanaging and that you're looking over everyone's shoulder. You're just saying, I would just like to be able to have a say in it, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you're taking over anyone's job or that you're not trusting someone's abilities, because obviously, I think during this entire conversation, when the topic has been brought up about community counts, you've been very supportive of what goes on in community counts. And so there's hasn't been any concerns expressed about that at all. It's just been, this is a new process for all of us, and we are going to kind of keep an eye on it, just to make sure at the beginning, to see how it works. This is a different medium, and we have the ability and the obligation to make sure that everybody in this village is comfortable with it. Not everybody has the same comfort level with social media, so.
Okay, thank you, Therese. Nick, go ahead.
At the last meeting, I recall, we decided to turn comments off as we make individual posts?
Yes.
Okay, because F3 was
Yes.
really, kind of stood out to me as a really important tool if we do turn comments on, and that the village clerk isn't obligated to respond to everything. But these would be forwarded off to the proper department, they would respond.
Yeah.
If necessary or however appropriate. I do agree that day-to-day operations, that the administrator and really anybody can toss something out there, but just like, I kind of relate this to going directly to the attorney. You know, we filter things through the administrator, through Barbara, run them through there first before we go directly to the attorney. It's just kind of along the same lines. I believe that, right with what Frank said, that you guys should have the ability to not have to check in with us if there's something that comes up that needs to be on social media. If we catch it, and there's a reason to, you know, flag it as an issue, I know that you guys would immediately, you know, listen to any concerns that we have, so I'm comfortable there. The one thing I noticed on the policy that I thought would be important to add, it discusses the clerk and the clerk's designee. It doesn't say in here, in the event that these two people are not available for whatever reason, if there's a default position that these responsibilities would go to, it would.
You could make it the administrator, and the
That's-
administrator will get it done.
That's what I thought, it's not in here. And that was one thing that stood out.
Because that will always be,
And
the
it's,
de-
it's
have that
implied to
person
me
take
that
to the
that's how it would
designee.
work, but it wasn't in here,
Yeah,
so.
you could add that, I
In
think,
the
Carmen.
event that there's a vacancy or whatever the case may be, it would be the,
Consent
I
for the
think what I would just try to avoid is continuing to have subsequent backups. I mean, what if there is a vacancy in the village administrator position? Or, I mean, I think probably should just say, you know, somebody who you know is always going to be available or be either in office or appointed. And, I mean, without any comments being posted, you kind of eliminated the emergency situation. I mean, it really would just be, you know, if you, on an emergency basis, wanted to get things out to the public, and if that were the case, you know, the police department's page is monitored much more frequently than the village's page. So I'm not sure that you have to designate a specific person. One thing I would suggest that, you know, I was actually going to talk to the clerk afterward, is that one of the early posts should say the village also has a Facebook page for the police department for information regarding police related posts or activities or anything like that, or emergencies. Be sure to like and follow that page, because you'll see those there. Yeah, I mean, we can make a change to include, you know, like the village president can determine who's responsible or something like that, you know.
and I don't even
Right.
think it's necessarily that
Right.
important. Obviously,
Yeah.
someone's gonna fill in. Just noticed
Right.
it wasn't there, wanted to get your feedback on it.
Sure, yeah.
I think Julie could be our backup. Julie's the one that does community counts, so if we need to have Julie back us up on that, I think she'd be happy to do that. Anything else? Okay, do we amend? Do we amend?
No, you don't need to amend.
No.
We don't need to? Okay. All right, roll call.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Meir?
Aye.
Good, motion passes. All right, 7B, motion to approve ordinance 25-43, amending section 317 of the Village Code of Campton Hills regarding the use of electronic and facsimile signatures.
Were you moving that to discussion?
So moved.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Second?
Moved by Janet, second by Nick. Discussion? Therese?
So, I have a question for Carmen on this. Were you thinking of wasn't quite sure.
Sure. I mean, I think the way that the ordinance is written, it provides for either or,
Okay.
depending on what the village's desire is at the time, at least what the, either the auditors recommended or what the village has the capability for. And without, knowing the inner functions of the village's finance department and how, how these things are handled, I drafted it in a way that it would allow for either or. And if the village board decides that they want, one or the other or both, we can make that change to the ordinance.
Okay, because the way I'm looking at the two different ways we could go with the signatures, I think the e-signatures would be much more uncommon, and I think maybe a little bit more dangerous, like probably not as secure. And so the facsimile, I think, would be probably a better idea, but I was also wondering, do we know what we were using before? Was it facsimile, which is what was my understanding?
Yes.
Yes.
Not e-signature.
Facsimile.
We were confused though, because I think Kim may have thought that when she was at the bank, she thought she may have seen an e-signature. I thought I saw facsimile
Facsimile.
signatures. And so, I would like to see the ordinance be a little more specific in the way it's drafted. I'm not a big fan of, and I'd like us to table this so that you and I can sit down. I'd like to have more specific language. I don't like, and I've got to find it, I have to pull this up. I'm not a fan of, hold on, just saying, provided such signature methods are implemented and used in accordance with all applicable laws and the village's properly established internal controls. Do we have those properly established internal controls when it comes to this? Because I don't think we have set those out when it comes to facsimile signatures. And so I think we need to either draft those or have those actually written in here. And then another thing I'm not crazy about is, well, unless we've gotten them, is this consistent with the guidance of the village auditors at the time of said use? In our meeting minutes last meeting, I think the staff was maybe going to get some guidance from our auditors. Do you know if that happened or if that took place?
No, that would be Timothy, no?
So,
The auditors haven't called it out, and it's been going on for one audit cycle already, and they haven't called out any issues with the controls on the facsimile signatures, so they haven't noted any problems, but just because they didn't note it doesn't mean they didn't look at it in great detail either. So it's similar to what other villages and cities in the state do.
well, then I
We just
will,
lack the resolution or ordinance, and that's what the attorney said we need to do to correct our practice if we're gonna continue with facsimile. We need an
And-
ordinance saying to do it.
and filing the signatures with either the county or the state of Illinois. So there's not just the ordinance or resolution. I mean, we've got steps to take yet that we have not taken.
And that would be part of the, provided that the signature methods are implemented and used in accordance with the applicable laws. So one of the laws is that they're on file, Secretary of State,
So-
after the resolution's approved.
I would like to add more to this ordinance to make it more, easier for some people in the future to follow, so that we have an actual procedure, because I want to make sure that it has language to the effect of whoever's signature, facsimile signatures are being used, that they are being kept to their control only, that it's not being done the way we've been doing it, which is that it's been, being implemented by a third person. As that, I don't believe is the way it should be done. I think we need to add more to this language.
Mike has a comment, suggestion?
Question, maybe comment.
Question?
In the push to do this, it was because, Kim and I wanted to have to stop sitting here at the end of the meeting and sign checks, although I just did it during the meeting. Partially because no bank enforces it, but it is our internal control that we're talking about. We talked about a mechanism, I think, that would work, and in section 3172, or A2, 317A2, talks about signatures required. Contents, no funds shall be dispersed unless the treasurer first receives a warrant signed by the village president or one of the finance trustees elected pursuant to section of this code and countersigned by the village clerk or the deputy village clerk, vacancy, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that should be an or the or should be later. What I think would work to allow our signatures to be electronically affixed would be our wet signature on the warrant. I think that should be the triggering mechanism. That means we're comfortable with the warrant having been properly introduced, properly read, properly passed. So the language would then be, the warrant will be signed by the village president and one of the finance trustees pursuant to elected law, that's, and countersigned by the village clerk, or then keep the or at deputy village clerk. That's what I was thinking. Now, to trustee Hopfensberger's point, we need to get those registered because the one we did electronic, I deliberately slanged it a little differently than my normal signature to make it a little bit easier or less likely of somebody, swiping that off and using it against me personally. And I know what I did when I did it. So I would like that to be my registered signature with the county or the Secretary of State. And then the question would be, how long does that take? Do we know? Is that something we just send them and say, these are our signatures? Or do we have to wait for something to come back from them? So that's my comment and then my question.
No, I think that language change makes sense, and it probably solves the concern. As to the Secretary of State question, I don't know. It's not something that I've been intimately involved in ever.
We just send it to them and they just acknowledge they got it. There's
It's
no.
probably something the treasurer can look into.
And I'm going to make this comment because I'm going to make it this one time, and I've mentioned this to Mike, and I've mentioned it to other people. I don't have any liability here. This is not a personal thing for me, but I do have experience doing this as an attorney and as a insurance executive. I worked with fraud cases, and I'll just tell you right now, you can say all day long that there's other villages that do it this way and they don't go through the proper procedures, but if you want us to if anything ever happens in this village and we have to file and claim with our insurance company, yeah, I know the checks are enforceable the way they're signed. That this does not affect the enforceability of the check. But if we were to, God forbid, have something happen in this village and we have to file a claim with our insurance company, one of the first things they'll look at, because I did this for a living, is did you follow Illinois law and procedure? Mm-hmm. And if you didn't do that, that's the first thing that they use to deny a claim. Sure. And we don't want to be without coverage. And none of you who have check writing authority want to be without bond coverage. And so it's in your best interest, the three of you that have check writing authority, to make sure that those bonds aren't going to be denied because we're not following an easy procedure. And so when we have people resisting this because they want to say someone in another village is doing it this way, I don't care. What I care is what we do here. And what I care is that my friends who are trustees and stuff in this village are properly protected. Because if someone does come and, like I said, heaven forbid, something happens in our village and we need to file a claim, we're going to need that coverage. You are not going to want to be personally liable for any of this, and none of us want the village to be liable without coverage.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So this is the last time I'm going to bring it up. We need to follow procedures, and it's not hard to follow the procedure, but we need to stop resisting following the procedures and stop acting like, I'm bullying everyone by continually asking for these things to be followed.
Okay, Janet, go ahead.
I continue to not be swayed by over concern over how checks are signed. I'm much more concerned over how approvals are conducted. And one of the reasons that I brought up the ACH issue repeatedly is not just that no one writes checks anymore in these contexts. It's virtually 100% ACH in the real world, but because in a situation where there's two-party, signatories, in an ACH environment, both parties have to approve those ACH transfers. And that same notion applies to checks. We're just not using that functionality with the software that we had. And so we're all aware of this issue. This is not particularly a new issue. And so the overall concern will be solved by transitioning to ACH. In the meantime, I watched right now as Trustee Millette was signing these checks, and he went through the warrants, and he looked at the warrant, and he signed the check, and he looked at the warrant, and he signed the check. If I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks ago, the checks were in the treasurer's safe, and Trustee Millette unfortunately couldn't do it that night, had to come in a couple days later, and he sat with the warrants, looked at the checks, sat with the warrants, looked at the checks. It's not the automated method that is designed to be used for this purpose, but the function of making sure that the person who actually has their name on the check is approving this before it goes out was being performed. And so the language that's in the ordinance about internal control procedures, is this the tightest possible procedure? No, but it is a valid internal control procedure. I'm fairly certain that Trustee Millette accurately, managed the correspondence between checks and warrants, even in the midst of a meeting. So, so again, I'm not terribly concerned over whether his wet signature was on the check or what was a facsimile signature. What I'm concerned about is, since his name was on the check, that he personally approved that check going out. And so that's where my concern is at. And I move to amend this ordinance to change the "or" that Trustee Millette mentioned to an "and."
And what else were the comments on that? That was it?
That was the one suggestion I believe
Second.
that we had.
That was the one thing. So it was a second?
You second?
I did.
Okay. We need a roll call on that for change?
Can I
Or are we
comment
done
still or
discussing?
not?
We can discuss the amendment.
I think
Discussion.
there's more
Can I still
discussion.
comment?
Therese, go ahead.
And this is the nuance that I think people are not understanding. If we don't have controls over who puts that signature on the check, there is nothing to stop. So currently, we have our treasurer putting the signature on the check. He can sit all day long and look at the stack that's handed to him. But what about, and I am not accusing anyone here of doing anything improper, but let's say a future treasurer takes a check that he doesn't show to Mr. Millette and puts the signature on it and sends it out. Our current treasurer is doing the money transfer, putting the signatures on the checks that are not his own, that are someone else's, and he's reconciling the bank account. So how long does it take us to figure out that there are checks that are not being put in front of Mr. Millette and conveniently sent, here, approve these are all on the warrant, but I had the ability to also put a signature on checks that you did not see. That is a procedure that cannot continue. So a proper procedure would only allow his signature to go on when he approves it. So whether the machine says, this has to go to Mike Millette, and Mike Millette hits the yes button for that check, and then it can go through the process.
Our software
But
does
it
that
cannot
today.
be someone else hitting the yes button for Mike Millette's signature. Now, if Mike Millette wants to allow someone else to hit that button for him, this is going to be a problem for him, and it will be a problem for Kim, and it will be a problem for Barbara. And so that's what I'm telling you needs to go into this ordinance. That control needs to be in there, and anyone that wants to do it any other way, I'm just telling you, you're putting way too much trust on someone, and while we may have trustworthy people today, we may not tomorrow.
Our software provides for this.
It does not. It does not.
Go ahead, Mike.
To that point, to be clear, the checks with the warrant should be unsigned, like they were tonight. So we have to figure out how to rerun the checks to affix the signatures. I'm not sure how we would do that, but that's what I'm suggesting, is I just don't want to have to sign all 15, 20, 30 checks,
Get the signatures back on there.
right? You can run them through the printer again, just the signature blocks, once you present the warrant. That's what I'm suggesting, so.
And I think that the process could, I think Kim was, we had talked about this, that there might be a process where all Mike has to do is get an approval that comes through to him on a computer that says, I approve this check, I approve this check, I approve this check. Then it goes through and there is a record that Mike approved those checks. It goes through him and he gets approval. So his signature doesn't go on anything without him seeing it, without his approval. Nobody else has the ability to go in and use his password or his anything to put that approval on the check. That's all I'm asking for.
Why do you think it doesn't exist?
Because I know it doesn't, because I've been asking the questions of the treasurer.
What makes you think the treasurer would know how the software works?
How the signatures are being put on?
How Cassell works?
I asked him, he's putting them on.
He is not
Mike,
expert.
Mike was not putting them on. Mike was not putting them on, correct, Mike? Thank you.
Okay, Tracy wanted to say something, then we'll
He
get
was not
Frank.
putting them on.
Yeah. All right.
So when the Cassell updates come through and we'll have access to My Viewpoint, Mike and Kim, or both, or one or the other, can be put in what they call the workflow. So when the invoice gets entered, he would go ahead and he could maybe be the first workflow. And when he approves it, then it just goes on and on and on, and then up to where Timothy or the finance assistant would then import them in to create the warrant. So we could put a finance trustee in the workflow through My Viewpoint.
So,
On the Cassell software.
correct, great. So what I wanted to say is something to the effect of each official must maintain exclusive control of their facsimile signature device, password, graphic file, digital file, or reproduction method. No staff member may apply any official's facsimile signature without the official explicit approval. You'd have to maintain that kind of control. I'm just telling you guys. And I will never understand the reluctance or the resistance to this. It's a control that makes sense. And and if someone, like I said, I've got no liability here. I'm going to walk away from this and I will not have any problems. So I'm not protecting myself. I am protecting my friends. And I'm protecting this village because I have been on the other side of these claims. I'm just telling you guys. And I don't understand the resistance. It's ridiculous to me.
I want to ask Mike a question.
I
and
think
then-
Frank wanted to.
Oh,
get in.
Frank, go
Frank's
ahead.
been waiting.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a question. So does Cassell work like a DocuSign? Because most e-signature software validates who the person is and verifies it, and actually historically keeps track. So does what we're talking about as far as e-signature go? Is it validated like a DocuSign? Because I can tell you in the financial services industry, e-signature is the primary way things get done, whether it's a mortgage closing, a commercial transaction, or anything else. But the e-signature software that's normally used is very secure, and it pretty much guarantees that the person's name that goes on the document is done by that person. I mean, unless somebody else has their email logins and passwords and all that kind of stuff. So I guess my question is that what we're talking about? Is that the type of system that we have?
No, all the approvals would be done through My Viewpoint. I think DocuSign is more
That's a separate software.
part of
package.
Adobe, yeah.
It's an Adobe software.
It's an Adobe software package, yeah.
The question goes more to what capability exists today, and whether, for a given check today, whether that check, if it requires 2 signatures, is there a facility in Cassell to require 2 approvals?
Not without My Viewpoint, which has been my complaint since I became clerk.
I just,
And,
hold on.
and
for-
just,
Trace, hold
the-
on for one
Oh,
second.
sure,
I
sure.
just want to ask Mike, we were doing wet signatures when I first got here, and I'm going to think previous to when we were all elected. And was there ever an issue, a problem with that, or?
A couple times.
Oh, there was?
I mean, we have had, what's the term when you pull a signature off? Not kited, that's the old thing. Spiffed, what is it, when you, spoofed?
Okay.
We've had them spoofed in the
Okay.
past. But that wasn't necessarily because of the way we were doing it, that was somebody that, it was a bad one too. The bank caught it pretty quick. It was like a Xerox that they tried to stick onto
Oh,
a
okay.
check sort of thing, so,
Okay.
I mean, no, I think it became our issue because the revolving treasurer door at the time, I think, and then there was some inconsistency. We had one treasurer didn't want to because to trustee Hoffmansberger point, they had the reconcile authority and they wouldn't sign the checks because of that. So then we came up with this as, okay, one of the two, McKelvey and me, and I, at the time said, okay, we'll just take alternate turns to do that, to make that happen. So, and we've kept it on that way ever since.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Teresa,
So
go ahead.
just briefly too, the act that we are, that this ordinance is written under, like specifically does not apply to municipalities for a reason. So if you want to apply it to checks, municipal checks, and that's why we need an ordinance, because you have to, it's just not the best method to use. So if we are going to continue using some sort of electronic method, you would want to use the facsimile signatures because they're a little bit harder to counterfeit. It's a little bit harder to, like, mimic his signature than it would be, so, because if you're using an e-signature, that's usually just like a, typed signature or something on those lines. Those would be easier to counterfeit. So if we do decide, and which is fine, if we want to go forward with it, I would recommend the facsimile signature. At least I think it's harder to duplicate, and it sounds like Mike had already kind of taken some security measures himself to make his signature slightly different anyway. But like I said, and then we have, I think, with the facsimile statute, which is different than the one that we've created the ordinance under, I believe requires another resolution that we have to do, I think. Is that correct, Carmen? I think we have to do a resolution under the facsimile statute then.
So because the village code specifically speaks to, it has more in it because of what trustee Millette discussed, talks about the finance trustees and the ability, or the need for one or the other of them, I felt it appropriate to call out this discussion and put it in the village code as well.
I think it makes sense,
So
for sure.
rather than preparing a separate resolution for authorizing this use, I created two separate sections here, I believe. Yeah, section 2 essentially has the language of what a standalone resolution
Oh, I
would
see,
be.
okay.
But section 1 includes the changes to the village code. So
Did you
it's a combo.
reference the other statute?
I mean, I didn't specifically indicate the statute.
think we need
just
to.
indicated that what was required to be in the resolution.
Okay, I think we need to reference the other facsimile statute, I think.
We can.
Okay.
Does somebody want to make that amendment motion?
We haven't
I'll
voted
make
on
it.
the amended,
Well, yeah, we still
we
have
haven't voted the amendment yet, just.
Yeah, so
Right.
there's a pending amendment.
Kim wanted to say something.
Okay, so I'm all about the double check and the checks and balances. I'm all about the bonds. Want to make sure that if something does happen, our insurance is going to cover us. I like the trustee Millette's amendment with the "and" there. And I'm all for the Cassell update because that had happened with workflow. That's an easier way to do it. And since that's not updated, we do not have a check and balance on facsimile or the electronics. I am probably going to go take a look at and see if I can get a look at the check that I did look at the bank. It sure looked the same to me, in the same font. It did not look at what I've seen on the checks. So, but I'm for that amendment. Do we need to make the amendment, or the additional amendment to the amendment to put the is it statute, state statute on there?
Well, we have an amendment pending, so.
Yeah.
We can vote the First Amendment.
Can we do the ordinance with
It's
the
the and
amendment?
amendment.
We
The
could do
first
the
one?
amendment, we could do the amendment, we could do the amendment for the and,
Mm-hmm.
see how that goes. And then if we need to add a section call out, we can add that as a second amendment.
That you'd have to spell out.
Or amend the original amendment to include both changes.
Okay, I withdraw my amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
I would like to propose an amendment while you're looking up to tell me what to say. So in section 2 of, or in subsection A2 of section 317, that we replace the word after village president in the first sentence, or make that say and. So that's part of my amendment, and the other part of my amendment is, proposed
I have this
amendment
down here.
is,
So it would be. It would be an amendment to section 2. We can just put it at the end, a separate sentence. This authorization is provided in
pursuant
or
to,
pursuant to the Uniform Facsimile Signature of Public Officials Act. And it's 30 ILCS 330/1.
and that would be my amendment proposed.
Second.
Okay.
Is
Roll
there-
call on the amendment?
Mike, would you be willing for me to add 2 more things to your amendment? The 2 parts that say that each official must maintain exclusive control of their facsimile signature device, and add that to the ordinance, and the other that says that no staff member shall add anyone's facsimile signature?
Yes.
Okay, so I have 2 sentences I'd like to then add to Mike's amendment.
That doesn't work that way. He needs to.
Okay, I'll hand it to you and you can.
No, do the same thing we just did here.
Do you want me to read it from, Mike has given me permission to read this?
Yes, please read it.
Okay, so 2 sentences, and I can send these to you later, maybe?
Oh, I think, are you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we clarify where they're going to go in the ordinance, just so the clerk has that?
Put it
So
under,
these will be under the facsimile
yeah,
signature portion?
still in section 2, signature authorization.
And then, so 1 sentence, each official must maintain exclusive control of their facsimile signature device, comma, password, comma, graphic file, comma, digital stamp, comma, plate, or reproduction method.
Okay.
And then the
As-
second
and
sentence.
as a sentence and paragraph.
Could be.
Okay.
And then the second is no staff member may apply any official's facsimile signature without the official's explicit approval for each check run.
Okay, yeah, let's add those as sentences
Good.
and paragraph.
Okay,
Okay, that's the amendment.
Thank you.
okay. So you're making the amendment? Could I have a second on the amendment?
I'll second
I'll
it.
second it.
Okay, I think we caught Treese first, so,
And just for final clarification, the underlying text that I placed in the proposed ordinance is remaining the same.
The underlying text,
Yes.
well.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that
Okay.
provides us to do both and move to electronic. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
approve the ordinance with the amendment.
We gotta vote the amendment first.
okay.
Yeah.
You have to vote to approve the amendment, and then you can vote
Okay, roll
overall.
call
For the amendment.
for the amendment.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
Okay, then we need a motion to approve ordinance 25-43 as amended.
Motion was already on the
Yeah,
floor,
the motion's
President.
already on the floor. I call the
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
Okay, call the question.
Tracy's gotta figure out who originally made it.
Trustee Burson did.
Okay.
Are we doing roll call again?
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Boatner?
Aye.
Trustee Benetti?
Aye.
Trustee Hassenberger?
Aye.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Muir?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, good thinking. All right, we'll move on to discussion items, number 8. A, Village Hall generator.
No, we missed C, the gentleman for Route 38.
He's not on
See,
there.
I don't
oh,
have a C, no.
I thought we were doing that tonight.
Oh, no, okay.
Okay, sorry. I saw here tonight. Thought he was here for his item. Nope,
Is that 38 and B? Is
Yeah.
that- Okay.
he must be just bored.
All right, so we do Village Hall generator, and I think our Chief Levan's going to talk about the generator.
All right, thank you. This has obviously been a extremely long process with this generator. I have to thank, obviously, Trustee Boatner and then also Trustee Benetti. Like, both of them played big roles in this. The ultimate decision was made on this generator. I know Administrator Rooney had a gentleman in the beginning that gave us like a price range about like $100,000. And of course, we want to look for the better price on it. So we have done our due diligence and then some. And getting the KDOT, as great of a deal as it is, generator is not a viable option for this reason. So the generator itself is going to have the enclosure, which is going to have the exhaust and everything else that goes with it. If that would go on the roof is not sufficient enough to support that with all the weight, that you would have to start putting in extra beams, like it would get extremely costly. If we took the other option and put that on the side of the building out here, first, I think residents are gonna lose their mind, because it is gonna extend out so far that you'd literally have to move the sidewalk in order to accomplish this, which we obviously know can't be done. And then you'd have people complaining that at 2 o'clock in the morning, your generator's firing up for its random test and going off, and it would be an eyesore. So I have spoken to KDOT, and they're perfectly fine with it. They offered it to us as a discounted rate. They know they can throw it on an auction site and get more money, so there's no issue there. Now we run into the other, what is better to do? Is it better to get a smaller generator, which we have discussed, we've gotten prices, pick certain areas to do it where you can expand onto it later? We still need a little more time. We have good prices from both the trustees that I mentioned. We just need to do a little more research on it here to determine the best way, because you have other options. If we go with a smaller generator, we could actually put it downstairs in the basement. There's no one in the basement, so when it does its random test for however many seconds it does, it'd be fine. It makes it easier to run the gas and electrical, because it's already downstairs where it is. There's a few, make a long story short, there's a few more options. We need the research to try to come up with the best cost, the best option. I know both trustees, Boatner and Benetti, are both willing to help with it. So we need a little more time to figure out the best, most cost-effective way to do this generator. It would be super easy to say, let's spend $100,000 and just do this. That's just not reasonable. But I think with all of us working together, like, we can get a solution for this. We just need a little more time.
And check the code and about the basement and ventilation and versus the roof.
Okay.
All right, so that's that update.
Any questions or discussion about the generator? Okay. We'll move on to the Volunteer and Public Service Program update, VIPS, a new program.
All right, everyone is pretty much familiar with CERT, and, I mean, we have board members that have been a part of CERT, and there's, over the last year, there's been some issues with CERT. So remember, CERT was Campton Hills, Elburn Police Department, Elburn Fire Department. When it started, that was a great concept, and that has sort of drifted a little bit now. There's a little bit of butting heads on different things. The group that was very strong in the beginning has dropped. I mean, we're literally down to pretty much our 7 residents at Campton Hills that does it all. And there's 1 or 2, I think, from Elburn that sometimes takes part in it. 3. So we have, Elburn Fire Department has no desire to be a part of this anymore. It doesn't serve their purpose. When they need to call out emergency response, they use in Hanover Township, because they have like a specialized unit for fires. So we have a meeting coming up tomorrow night at 7 to discuss CERT group, but we weren't gonna sit back and wait to have someone be like, we're gonna go ahead and disband this group, and it was fun. We started meeting about 3 weeks ago, and right now we have a committee group that are together, and we want to start this program. It's VIPS, it's Volunteers in Police Services. You can look it up, research it. A lot of people use it, Roselle, all over. Similar to CERT, it allows a municipality, since it's directed to us at Campton Hills and no one else, we have a lot of volunteers that are interested in doing administrative functions. I mean, you could go down, you know, fingerprinting, paperwork, filing, like it goes a car seat installation to help Stavi to go get the certification. You have all amazing options. So this is the program we want to put in place for the Village of Campton Hills. This would be specific for the Village of Campton Hills. We still have a lot of people that are trained, you know, traffic control, all these other things. I would like the board to also consider is that this would be a 501 organization, so it'd be a nonprofit organization. We would do the paperwork on that, but I would ask that the board consider having, and I don't know how exactly, a different line item specific to VIPs. So we already have 3 area businesses that have said, this is great, we would love to donate to it, and we would love to fund the program. This would be great on many levels, doesn't require the village to fund this program. It's 501, which allows our dedicated volunteers in town, be it fundraising, pancake breakfasts, whatever it may be, to fund this program. It's sort of a win-win for the village, and we need to sort of start looking at other options, so that's what we did, and Trustee Muir's been a big part in it. So that is what the VIPS is. So I'm sure there's questions on it or anything, but.
Mike, go ahead.
First of all, thanks for bringing this up in a different skin. As one of the folks way back when that was excited and kind of helped with when we had Chief Callahan, I think it was at the time, from Elburn Countryside. I mean, they were wanting it, you know, they were enthusiastic. And then we had, what's the guy's name from Village of Elburn? It's escaping me right now. But at the time, yeah, that's right. At the time, it was like everybody was going, and it's disappointing to find that their priorities change, but and that's right, and it happened. So I like that we've got it focused on us. I mean, you're right. From what I've heard, we've been since I'm going back to Laura Anderson. I mean, you know, since the more recent. When I've seen folks out and heard people, it's just been our focus for the most part. So I guess this makes sense. And to be proactive before we get left. We're going to leave them before they leave us. I get that. And I think your point about setting it up, I mean, we did fine with Dakota Fund. I mean, you're mirroring what we did there, and we haven't, we didn't set up it as a not-for-profit, but I mean, it was a separate cost center. So I think I like tracking it that way, and then you can make a nice clean, the ins and outs are matched. So good job.
Kim, go ahead.
Just like Trustee Millette just said, a separate cost center, so that it is separate since it's going to be a 501.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah?
And on a side note, I see it also great, you know, our traffic control, all these great things that we know CERT has done, all our volunteers has done. This takes it an extra, and they're excited about it. Like for the police department and the villages like you have a lot of people with a lot of experience doing a lot of things. So maybe to that person that's retired, doesn't want to be the person that's standing out there in the winter helping us direct traffic for a car accident or a tree down. That person would love to come in here, you know, 4 hours a day and file paperwork for the village. It doesn't even just have to be on the police department side, for the village. Like there is a lot of opportunities there for a lot of things that doesn't cost the village because you have a bunch of great volunteers that want to do it. And again, specific to us.
Yeah. Any more discussion, questions? Okay, sounds great. Look forward
It does
to
sound great. I'm wondering if there's any provision for the preparedness angle that was such a big part of CERT.
It's an excellent question, and it is. So we've worked on putting this, so we're fortunate, as you mentioned, like we have pretty much everyone that was, a lot of people started CPA, and CPA is actually a prerequisite of VIPS. So we had the CPA, and then we had a lot of people, CPA alum, and then CERT that took over. So all that same core is with us. So we're currently working on, I don't want to say yeah, all of that we're working on, but we're almost like a training manual for it. So there's going to be minimum requirements for, CPR, AED, obviously. We have Jean here. Every year she's certified. She does the police department. She'll do that. Search and rescue. So we're going to have basics that everyone must do if they haven't already, because then they could also be teachers on it. And then we're going to sort of go to an advanced level. So if it's in your wheelhouse to do car seat installation, but the emergency preparedness is still absolutely at the core of this program, 100%.
Great, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Well, thank you, Chief. Sounds awesome. Yeah. All right, discussion item C, purchase of speed trailer. That's yours too.
I feel like I'm talking a lot here, so hopefully we can get this one done, but I have to give a couple options to the board. As you know, we have discussed this. The board has already supported this. It's been going on for 4 or 5 months now. Yeah, pretty much. So my goal was to get the most cost-effective, the best option for the village, and we have finally gotten that. So there's only a couple companies out there, a handful that actually do these, and one's ATL. You get a white trailer for $18,000, message board, speed trailer. That's it. It's got to be white. I don't like white, sorry. Like, I want it to be wrapped blue. I just think it looks better. I see other municipalities that have it. White is just too generic to me. I don't think it looks good on the side of the road. But that's my personal opinion. So after a bunch of research and that.
Orange and black.
We could go with that too. So after a bunch of research, the connection for us at Flock, obviously everyone knows that we have their Flock on 64, actually came through huge on this. So Flock has a speed trailer with a message board, with a Flock that is $13,000. And let me tell you why it's such a, we got them, and they'll wrap it blue. So with our logo there.
That's why you're going with that.
No, I'm going to tell you why I'm going with it. We recently discussed a residential burglary that took place here. I cannot stress, Flock has taken a little bit of a hit over the last 4 or 5 months, mainly due with immigration, sharing information. We don't do that. First of all, our system has been, it's locked down. Like Kane County Sheriff, obviously, local agencies will share our information for reasons that are obvious. I cannot tell you, I cannot say nothing, and listen, I don't get paid by Flock, so that has nothing to do with it. I cannot endorse this product enough for what it does. Since we've had our one on 64 there, we have located missing elderly people with dementia out of Michigan and Wisconsin. Elburn got hit with 15 burglaries overnight. They then jumped over to Randall Road, hit Batavia. This group of people were caught because of our Flock camera. Like it told us, here's the date and time, see if you can find it going down 64. We don't know the plate, we know it's a white car. Boom, we go back to Flock, guess what? 2:30 in the morning, there it is. There's the 3 subjects. This is not Big Brother. We've covered this before. It doesn't show images, doesn't do facial recognition. It's allowing us to be able to say, we had car burglaries in Fox Mill last night, and someone says, I saw a red old pickup truck that was in the subdivision at 3 in the morning. We literally have the ability to go into our system, type in red old pickup truck, not exactly, but for the most part, and it will show us all that. Wow. Sure, could it possibly give us 5 license plates? But guess what? We now have 5 license plates when we had 0 license plates to start our investigation. So they offered to give us the speed trailer, the message board with the Flock camera, which means we can move it anywhere in the community. We have a residential burglary, whatever it may be. We can move it and we can see if this can help us solve cases. So it's great. But Flock took it one step forward, one step farther. So Flock said, you guys already have an account, you already have the camera. We will give you additional camera just with the software service fee of the $3,000. So I will leave it to the board to say we can get our speed trailer, message board, wrap the color with the camera for $13,000. On top of that, you can get that and additional mounted anywhere in the village, like the one we have for 16. And I also want to remind the board that this is not costing additional money. We had $40,000 in our technology line item. 25,000 of that is our biggest expense every year. It goes to our Axon, our body cam, squad cameras, data storage. This year, we got a grant for it. It was $25,000. So I do know, because there's been some conversations, because I have my own conversations with it, when we look at the budget, it's like, oh, well, you know, this might be slightly over. However it's put there, we're not over. So we started with 40, we spent 25, we got the grant to cover the 25. So in reality, we're sort of like right back at our 40, give or take a little. So no matter if we go 13,000 or 16,000, it is not costing the village anything more, and it's actually under, than what was budgeted for it.
Yeah. And I'd compliment the chief, because he could have executed the 16 or 17 early on, and he said, if we wait till the end of the year, there's a price difference, and Flock may have a program, so let's just be patient and wait till the end of the year, and we might get better pricing, and we did. So kudos to the police department and the chief for being patient and getting a better deal. The extra Flock camera, I can tell you in other communities I've worked in, we bought 4 or 8. So we covered every entrance, exit point of the village, and had all the great success that you're speaking of. And it's never turned into a big brother looking at a picture of the person driving the car. It only focuses and zeroes in on the license plate. That's their promise, and they've kept it for probably 6, 7 years of their existence nationwide.
And I have discussed this with Fox Mill numerous times, and I will continue my discussion with them, because Prairie Lakes, they have Flock cameras at all their entrances. That's HOA pays for that. It's tied into the police, obviously, account for the price in that. Arbor Creek, getting ready HOA, put in Flock cameras. Like, people realize the importance of these cameras. The one I can give you the best real fast, South Barrington. They're a pioneer behind this. If you're familiar with South Barrington community, it's a very well community. I would have to get the exact number from our Flock rep. I know they're well over 20. Almost every street in South Barrington has a Flock camera on it, because the residents realize, like, the police can only do so much. There's limited resources there. But when criminal activity happens, that's a 24-hour eye that can help you solve crime, so.
And they come with a sign, a sign approved language that you could place at the entrance of your city, you know, where it says speed limit otherwise not posted, 25. Right under it, you got this Flock symbol. And I can tell you in other cities that I've worked with and for, we've placed those, and the burglary numbers go down, and they go to the next place down the street, zip code that doesn't have them. Because it's, at night, there's not as much activity, and whether you filter through 5 or 55, the camera never gets tired.
Sweet. Mike, and then we'll go to Nick.
So I endorse the extra 3 to get the additional camera so we can.
There's a valid concern. People accuse me of being different things. I'm not a socialist. I'm an unselfish libertarian. But the truth is, on a public way, you don't have an expectation of privacy, except within your private vehicle. So anything that's marking your vehicle as you're traveling on a public road is valid for public, for photography, and recording, all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm in favor for these, because exactly as Chief and Administrator Rudy just said, they are a great tool. And to your point, Chief, if you got a federal subpoena to release, you would release. It's a federal subpoena. We're just talking about not making mistakes that, or getting us brought into things we don't want to be brought into. How's that? To the point of the speed trailer, though, I'm a big advocate for speed trailers always. Just we don't have enough folks to be on the street all the time to enforce speeds. I've said it before, I say it again. That is the 100% way to slow down people, is for an officer to be writing people tickets. The next closest thing is a speed trailer, especially one that has police symbols on it because, and looks like it might have a camera on it, because even though we don't actually enforce speed yet, generally, I think City of Chicago does, they don't know that. And so,
Slows them down.
except for a few idiot kids that want to see that they can go 75 miles an hour on the thing, then maybe we should actually take a picture of that vehicle. But yeah, great, kudos on figuring it out, and it can be blue, that's fine. Just me.
Nick, you go next, and then Kim.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what a great value.
Yeah.
I mean, the trailer, the speed camera, the message board, the flock camera, adding another flock camera for $3,000, all the security it adds to our residents, but even a bigger picture, Chief, you consistently are digging deep and bending over backwards, looking at different options, coming in here, talking dollars and cents, putting in this tremendous effort to make sure that the village can afford and that we can make sure that our residents have all of these tools. I mean, you're going after the grants. You're price shopping for 4 or 5 months looking at all of these cameras. You're meeting with the generator people so we can get the FEMA-approved facility and the emergency fallout shelter. I just think that you definitely need to be recognized for all of the effort that you put into every single thing that you bring forward. It's just tremendous. I mean, great work ethic, it's amazing. Definitely support the speed trailer, big time on the camera, and, yeah, great job.
And one quick thing, now you got me going. So what might also be considered down the road, Administrator Rooney, with south of 38 and that,
Yeah, we already talked about adding it
So-
as a condition of the development.
think of how two great selling points, one for a contractor who always loses mass amount of money when they start building, because people steal from them. And number two, to people that want to move in and says, hey, your street
Right.
has 24-hour protection there.
Kim, did you want to say something? I think.
Yeah, I'm going to echo. Great job, by the way, Chief, as always. Agree with the speed trailer. You didn't mention that one of the roles of VIPs might be actually placing that speed trailer. So I just wanted to add that.
Somebody has a pickup truck, with the right hitch, 2-inch, inch and 7/8.
All right, are we done? Any more
I
discussion?
just think
Yeah.
that the chief and I think that there's no objection to the extra 3,000 to the
No,
flock. So
no,
we'll go
not at
forward
all.
with both. So the clerk can have that in the minutes properly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for all the hard work. All right, we're going to move on to closed session. Motion to enter into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or contractors.
We didn't get to do our additional items.
Well, it's put in a
It's kind of sad.
place.
North Star's lost, so never mind. Stupid Brother Rice.
All right, what do you want to say?
That was it. North Star's lost to stupid Brother Rice.
And
They
we
can
will not return to open session. There's no action after our closed session. So motion? Nick?
Motion.
Okay,
Yep.
second? Janet? All in
Okay,
favor,
second.
say aye.
Yeah, it does. It's